It's good to see you today. We're going to be looking at the death of Jezebel. In today's brief meditation, our hymn today is called Teach Me the Measure of My Days.
Teach me the measure of my days, thou maker of my frame. I would survey life's narrow space and learn how frail I am.
Appreciate it, Lee. Verse 2, a span is all that we can boast, how short the fleeting time. Man is but vanity and dust, and all his flower and prime. What should I wish or wait for then from creatures earth and dust? They make our expectations vain and disappoint our trust. Now I forbid my carnal hope, my fond desire recall. I give my mortal interest up and make my God my all. Let's look at the account now in 2 Kings chapter 9 at verse 30. Now when Jehu had come to Jezreel, and where we've heard Jehu's name before, is when Elijah was on the mountain, and the Lord tells Elijah to go back and anoint certain individuals, and one of them would be Jehu, and there was going to be a lot of carnage. So, and this is one of those accounts. As Jehu entered the gate, actually back up to verse 30, when Jehu had come to Jezreel, Jezebel heard of it, and she put paint on her eyes and adorned her head and looked through a window. Then as Jehu entered at the gate, she said, Is it peace, Zimri, murderer of your master? He looked up at the window and said, Who is on my side? Who? So 2 or 3 eunuchs looked out at him. Then he said, Throw her down. So they threw her down, and some of her blood spattered on the wall and on the horses, and he trampled her underfoot. When he'd gone in, he ate and drank, and then he said, Go now, see to this accursed woman, and bury her, for she was a king's daughter. Hadn't noticed that before. Verse 34, that business about when he'd gone in, he ate and drank, and then he said, Go and bury her, she's a king's daughter. So they went to bury her, but they found no more of her than the skull and the feet and the palms of her hand. And that's why, because time had gone by. And frankly, the dogs had gotten her. Therefore they came back and told him, and he said, This is the word of the Lord, which he spoke by his servant Elijah the Tishbite, saying, On the plot of ground at Jezreel, dogs shall eat the flesh of Jezebel. And the corpse of Jezebel shall be as refuse on the surface of the field in the plot at Jezreel, so that they shall not say, Here lies Jezebel. Notice, so that they shall not say. Namely, there's nothing of her left, hardly. And Jezebel's death. It starts there in verse 30. She put paint on her eyes and adorned her head. She is still as proud as she can be, isn't she? She's been proud her whole life. And we know what pride goes before. And here she is, and she hears that Jehu has come. And she puts paint on her eyes and adorns her head. And she looks through the window. And she says, Is it peace, Zimri, murderer of your master? Now that one we're going to have to explain. Let me take a peek at my Bible. You may have a reference back to 1 Kings chapter 16. Because what she's doing is she is going back in history. In 1 Kings 16, there's a king named Elah who reigns in Israel. And he has a servant named Zimri. Well, Zimri goes in and kills him and reigns in his place. Remember, all the kings in Israel, they're all wicked. So Zimri kills him and reigns in his place. Kills all the household. Didn't leave him one male, neither relatives nor his friends. Zimri destroyed all the house. Now let's look to see what happened to Zimri. So in the 27th year of Asa, king of Judah, Zimri had reigned 7 days. The people who were encamped there said Zimri has conspired and also killed the king. And so all Israel made Omri, the commander of the army, king over Israel that day in the camp. So Omri and all Israel, they go up and they besiege where Zimri is. And when Zimri saw that, he goes up into the citadel, into the king's house, and he burns the king's house down upon himself with fire and died because of all of the wickedness that he had done. And he didn't reign very long. He had reigned 7 days. Now here's the point. So when Jehu shows up, and Jehu has been anointed, Jehu's been anointed king of Israel. Pardon me for giving you whiplash there. Jehu shows up, and she sticks her head out the window and says, "Is it peace?" What she's saying is, you're going to have no more peace than Zimri had peace. He reigned 7 days and then burnt the house down on himself. She hasn't changed much, has she? She's still proud, and she is still breathing threats out right down to her last breath. She's still just spitting the hate. Remember what she says about Elijah? "I'm going to make you like one of them come tomorrow." Talking about the death of the prophets. She hasn't changed much. Ahab's already dead, by the way. You would think at some point she would get a little humility, but it isn't going to happen. And she has not changed. And so she's insulting Jehu and saying, you're going to end up just like Zimri. You're only going to reign a week, and then you'll be dead. Back to the account. So the eunuchs throw her down, and we have her death. And in my notes, I put it simply like this, and I was thinking about our hymn. How will we measure up? Man's life is but a vapor. How will we measure up? Do you remember what Daniel says to that certain king? The account of the handwriting on the wall? You have been weighed and found wanting. Oh, well, Jezebel, she's been weighed, and she is more than wanting. I don't know if you should say more than wanting or less than wanting or whatever it is. She is a wicked, wicked woman. She's so wicked that in Revelation, when it talks about a certain wicked person, that wicked person is called Jezebel. She becomes wickedness personified, pretty much. And so what we say is, teach us to measure our days. We need to be humble. We need to change. And we need to recognize just how frail we really are. We better lean on the Lord. Better not lean on ourselves, and better not follow in the steps of Jezebel. Hope you have a good day. Appreciate you. Join us tomorrow for another portion of our daily praise.